Hey y'all, welcome back to the Conscious Yogi podcast where we elevate our existence. I am your host, Danielle LaVirgo. Some of you may know me from TikTok, you may know me from YouTube. I am available on all platforms, not all of them, but TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at Danielle LaVirgo. And this is the Conscious Yogi podcast. So today we are going to get into a pretty heavy topic. So I do want to kind of lead with a disclaimer, and that is come in with an open mind. What we do here is we take situations, we take what's going on in our lives, and we understand that we cannot change the world around us, but what we can control and what we can change is ourselves. And once you start to change yourself and you start to change your mindset, guess what? You start to change and alter your own reality. And so, as we go in today's topic, I really want you all to think of this as a conversation where we're more so philosophizing. I'm not coming to say that what I'm saying is 100% true, but this is how, I feel and how I choose to look at situations. And so far, it has panned out to be, well, a pretty good way to look through, all the things that we go through and decipher them and figure out the best way for us to maneuver and for us to move and shake into this world. So I hope y'all enjoy this podcast. I hope y'all enjoy this episode, and I hope y'all join the conversation. So today I want to get into how all of us are the same. We're very different, but it's my theory that we are all more alike than we would like to choose. I would like to reiterate first that this space is only a space for women and those who identify as women, and in particular, even more so, a space for Black women to come and to strategize life, to come with an open mind. We have conversations through a higher consciousness lens, through a higher frequency lens. So we come open minded. We come not ready to argue, but ready to discuss. So some of the things I may say may be a little triggering. It could be, or it could be perfect, make perfect sense. You never know. Um, but ultimately, one of my beliefs after deep thinking, after, being on a journey that has taken me to so many places that has helped me grow is, you know what? I figured out that most of us are the same. Most people in this world, no matter what color, no matter what race, no matter what gender you identify as or don't identify with the gender at all, no matter who you are, a lot of us fundamentally are the same. A lot of us are trying to get through the system. We as Black women in particular, and as women, we go through a lot of things. We experience a lot of misogyny. We experience a lot of violence. We experience a lot of microaggressions, for particularly for Black women. You know what a lot of other women, particularly Caucasian women, go through. You can pretty much double or triple that when it comes to us and when it comes to our experience. And so, one thing that has really totally revamped and changed the trajectory of my mindset and the trajectory of my understanding and my growth was realizing, you know what? Most of us are the same. Most of us are trying to get through this life, and trying to do the best we can while being successful. That being said, when we as Black women come from a place where we are the quote unquote bottom of the totem pole, it is easy for us to get sucked into a victim mindset. Now, I want to preface this, what I'm going to continue to say, by saying, um, try your best to step out of the mindset of victimhood for a second. This is an in-house conversation. And by in-house conversations, I will try to address, when I speak on things, I will try to be as specific and as clear as I can. So one of the ways that I can do that is by making sure you understand who I'm talking to. Although there are people outside of Black womanhood that will have access to these videos, there are particular ways I choose to engage or lack thereof with those people. I don't engage with men because I don't value their opinion on things that women are discussing. I don't engage when I'm talking specifically about Black women and things that Black women are dealing with. I don't believe in engaging other people outside of that unless they're bringing something constructive and we know whether something is constructive or not. And for the most part, if you are, under my in my comment section, if you are under my, I'm the judge. I'm the judge and I'm the jury of what I believe is constructive. Now, I have a lot more leniency when it comes to a Black woman, say in a Black woman conversation who disagrees. I will absolutely have that discussion and have that conversation. But if I'm discussing something specifically tailored for Black women, it's not up for discussion or for opposing opinions from anyone else that's not a Black woman, right? I don't expect people to understand my train of thought. I don't expect people to automatically understand what I'm saying. So if you ever have questions, if you ever want clarity, if you ever want to understand where I'm going, what my mindset is about a particular topic, then just ask. And I will definitely answer it. With that being said, this particular thing is going to be about Black women. Um, and so after I finish, giving my rundown of how um I I in particular think Black women should start to at least experiment addressing and dealing with and navigating the bumps that we experience in this life, I'm going to pull from my African Goddess deck, my Oracle deck, because a lot of the time, our intuition and our spirit, whatever you want to call it, help guide us. So I like to pull from one of my oracle decks, and this is obviously for obvious reasons my favorite oracle deck, but I also have others that I'll use. But I like to pull from these to kind of, you know, I guess the proper word would be to drive home like the point. And also when I read it, you get to interpret it how you want. Maybe whatever going on with you in your life, that could bring some relevance, some clarity. And then the topic at hand, it can also kind of tie in everything together. So we're going to try this. This is an experiment. Normally I'm not a tarot card reader. I don't really do that. I get into tarot, but that's really for my own personal journey, just like Oracle. I think I'm a little bit more comfortable with Oracle just because it's a little bit lighter. It's not as, I guess, rigid. I don't know. Don't, take what I say with a grain of salt, but it's not as rigid as tarot. Tarot is very intricate. And this is more so you can really personalize a good oracle deck and a good, reading for yourself. And you can take from it what you will and what your guide and what your intuition is telling you to take from it. So we're going to jump right back in. So, you know, a lot of the time when we as Black people, in particular as Black women, because we are at the proverbial, and there's always levels to the way that I look at any and everything. And I'm a compartmentalizer, right? So I can see things from many, many sides, right? So I understand a lot of times where people are coming from and understand things from different angles. And I think that's important for being able to effectively communicate and also display compassion and care and love when I'm communicating with you all. And so think about this, right? A lot of people there's a thin line between being a victim and then moving on, being a victim of your circumstances, being an actual victim, right? Because you can be an actual victim of your circumstance without having a victimhood mindset, without letting it affect your day to day, right? There are absolutely things that happen to women. There are absolutely things that happen to Black women that happens way more intensely and intensely to us, right? But when we recognize all of these things, we know Black women have the highest mortality rate. We know we have the highest domestic rate, the highest of everything. All the things, all the isms, all the experiences, we have the highest, right? A lot of them, most of them, we understand that, right? So, what do you do next? What do you do after that? And that's what I want to get into. See, it's very easy It's very, very easy to get stuck in a victimhood mindset, which will ultimately lower your vibration, which then ultimately could potentially lower your frequency, right? So your vibration is more so of your how things affect you on your day to day and your immediate reaction, your immediate feelings, your immediate experiences, right? Your frequency is more so of your awareness and your consciousness broadened. Like those are the things that your vibration can go up and down, up and down, up and down within a day, right? Of course, ideally you would want to be able to control that, but your frequency is all of the awareness, all of the things that puts you on a higher consciousness level, that raises your frequency, that raises your awareness, that raises, you know, the way you think, the way you move, the way you treat others, all of these things. When you stay in a victimhood mindset, when you stay in a position where you're constantly the victim, where you don't have any control, where somebody is always doing something to you, you can't grow. You can't grow and you won't grow. A lot of things are from our perception. And I think we don't, when you are at the proverbial, the quote unquote bottom of the totem pole, you automatically have a certain level of awareness, right? But at the same time, that doesn't mean fundamentally, should your position in society change, you wouldn't be the exact people that you complain about. Now, that's not to speak on everyone. We're all individuals, yet we're all also a collective, right? So I think at some point, Black women have to get past certain things. For an example, hair, right? There was a time where we had no choice but to assimilate. We're in 2024 now. There are some careers, some fields, some places where you do have to assimilate. But if we are being for real with ourselves, there comes a time where you no longer have to assimilate in the way that you want to did. And I want us to really, really sit and think about that. And I like to use hair mostly because that is a very prevalent thing. That's something that many of us already know about. It's something that affects affects a lot of Black women. And so hair is also something that's very obvious as well. It's something physical, it's something tangible, it's something you can actually see. So we have experienced a lot of hair trauma in the Black community, and I'll have a whole separate video on that. But for now, I'm just using this as an example. At what point do you get past the victimhood that we've experienced, that we have been actual victims of? But if you want to grow, at what point do you get past that? How do you get past that? Right? You can't make Black men love your hair. You can't make white men love your hair. You can't make white women love your hair. You can't make your boss love your hair. You can't do any of that. But I promise you, a lot of Black women are no longer assimilating. And what a lot of what we are doing, we fell into the comfort of what we have. Listen, I say that having a straight hair right now, right? But there's a big difference from assimilating because you have to get meet ends meet, which was absolutely a thing, versus you just being in a place where you're stuck and attached in an unhealthy way. The bottom line is many of us, if we really wanted to, could totally change our perspective on whether we have to straighten our hair, whether we have to show up in wigs, whether we have to show up in, whatever the case may be, right? And there's layers to that. But at some point, we have to choose to push the needle forward. At some point, we have to be the ones to say, we're going to change. And I don't care if you don't like it, right? Like, at some point, you have to show up with your natural hair. And if you don't want to, you need to be honest with yourself about whether that is actually a choice or whether you just have internalized self-hatred of the way your hair grows out of your head, right? That's just an example. Ultimately, I believe you can wear your hair however you want, right? You can wear locks, you can wear braids, you can wear extensions, you can wear wigs, wear your hair however you feel, but never, ever let it control you. Never, ever let it come from a place of victimhood. Because in 2024, I would argue that a lot of us cannot use assimilation as an excuse as to why we refuse to care for and wear our own natural afros and our own natural hairstyles, right? That's just one example. There's so many examples that I can give across the board. The bottom line is we all play a game. We're in this life, we're playing a game. The problem is for all of us, of all races, creeds, backgrounds, genders, whatever, we've been given a set of rules that's false. And that's the best way that I can put it. Like the rules that we think we're supposed to play by to win in this existence is wrong, right? We can't expect the needle to just move forward by begging and asking and whining and complaining and picketing, right? You have to put action to it. Think about it this way. If the origins and it's in intellectual media, I think she has a wonderful video on the history of Black hair, right? And I think we should start at the beginning and work our way back forward in order to deal with things like this. But for an example, if we're able navigate a system, right? If we're able to navigate a system and we're all doing the best we can to navigate that system, you know, what incentive, for an example, does other races of people have to prioritize our hair, right? They don't have an incentive. I think that once we all get to a place where we lower our expectations in a healthy way, not lower your standards, lower your expectations. When we lower our expectations of others and thus our expectations, that will also match essentially what they can expect of us, right? You would no longer expect for, ask for, beg for other people to accept you. They don't need to. They don't have to. If white people intentionally built a system, and I'm not even going to blame white people, so I'll take that back. The powers that be, the people that rule this world, the people that have the actual rules to this game, because I honestly don't believe this system is made for white people either. They are under the illusion that it's made for them, but it's not. So if they deliberately made a system to prop up a certain group of people, what incentive do they have to bring it down, right? What incentive do they have to dismantle their system? They don't have an incentive to dismantle their systems. Why would they? You cannot beg and ask and plead for someone who intentionally created a system for you to fail in, created a system for everyone to fail in. Asking them to dismantle their system because of your feelings is never going to happen. And I really need people to understand that, right? All women, all races. Us asking white women to appreciate our hair, why? Why do you need them to? Us asking the system is created intentionally. And it's insanity. It's insane and it's asinine to ask the very people who create the system or who are the biggest beneficiaries of the system to change in order to benefit you. They're not going to do it. You have to make them. In short, you have to make them. That means with this is an example, show up however you want. Show up with your natural hair. Show up how you feel best, truly. Um One of the biggest things that I think everyone should start to understand, and this is me philosophizing, right? This is not me telling you that I'm the end all be all and what I say is the alpha and omega. It's the alpha, but it does not have to be the alpha and omega for you. Chew the meat, spit out the bone. I think if people really understood how similar we are, how many of us really try to play the game, a lot of us would lower our expectations. One of the biggest things that I notice engaging people in the world, speaking to people, communicating with people, is that everybody's trying to make it. And in my line of work, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, it's no need to keep upholding the system because it's not built for any of us. And I know when you're at the bottom of the quote unquote totem pole, you think it's easy to look at other people and think that the system is made for them, that they just benefit so well. For an example, for us, a lot of white people, right? We are on the outside looking in, but sometimes when you get to look in, things are not as they seem. We are all subjected to a lot of programming from the minute we come out of the womb, right? Whatever your belief system is, take this, I'm not trying to change anybody's belief system, but it's of my belief and of scientific belief that this place is assimilation, right? This place is full of coding. So we're full of coding. All of y'all have seen the Matrix, right? So imagine an invisible cord strapped to us, and we're all kind of connected separately, but also we're kind of connected to like this earth, this world, right? From the moment we come into this world, we're the receptors, the antennas, they're feeding us information. They're feeding us, you know, propaganda. They're feeding us programming, TV, parents, religion, everything, right? We're constantly being pumped with programming. So the amount of work we have to do to expand our awareness is a lot. As you start to do that, you start to see things through new and improved eyes. Everybody is programmed. Everybody have their own programming. Black women, we have our own programming, right? Our programming is different from a white woman's programming. It's different from a white man's programming. It's different from an Asian woman's programming, right? We all are set up with a particular program. And when you're at the bottom of the totem pole, it's easier for you to understand certain things. I would argue that white people are under the thickest programming because imagine being in a system that has told you that it's built for you in so many ways. These are the receptors that white people are getting, right? These are the receptors that they're getting: entitlement, privilege, all of the things that come with white supremacy and white privilege. But even that is an illusion for them. It's a programming for them. So, in a way, this is how you shift your mindset. This is how you shift the way you see things in order to raise your frequency, in order to expand your consciousness, right? When you suffer the most, you have the most compassion. You have the most empathy. You have the most sympathy. You have the most care, right? When imagine being stuck in a system that has benefited you for generations and generations and generations. It is hard to get out of that programming, right? It is difficult to get out of that program. It's difficult to understand the plight of other people. Like, are y'all following me? Like, white people are under deep, deep programming. And this is why, for a lot of them, it's a lot harder for them to break certain barriers. It's a lot harder for them to vibrate on a true, honest, higher vibration on a day to day basis, a higher frequency on a day to day basis. Again, these are my beliefs. These are things that I've thought about. These are things downloads and things that I've received and I've interpreted. So I'm not saying that this is 100% accurate. I am philosophizing and giving you things to think about on how you can navigate and restructure your mindset and restructure ultimately your reality. So I find it a blessing to be a highly spiritual person, to be a person that it's a little bit easier for me to get tapped in, right? And there's things that you can do to, you know, pump that up a little bit. There's things that you, substances, whatever, there's things that you, experiences that you can have that will help you navigate that a little bit more, navigate that a little bit easier. But at the same time, I'm appreciative that I'm in a space where my awareness, where it's not as hard for me to break out of my programming. Now, particularly with me, a big part of my programming was religion, was Christianity. Um, and being raised by parents who grew up in a certain time in a certain era with limited information and also being super religious. So I had to deconstruct and dismantle that programming, right? But it was a lot easier for me to do because A, it wasn't in alignment since I could think and remember thinking as a child. But also it was a lot easier for me to do because I have more access to information, right? I'm online, I'm learning things, I'm growing. Every choice you make is can raise your frequency or can raise your vibration or lower it. Can help raise your frequency or help lower it. Can help expand your awareness or whatever the opposite of expand, contract. Um and so it was easier for me to break out of my programming more so than it was and is for my parents, right? I have, for my siblings that lived in my household, as when we lived together, all under the same roof, right? There's a vast difference from the way my sibling who never left home from my parents. It's much more difficult for him to have had broken out of his programming. And it's very interesting because none of my siblings we never really fuck with religion for real. But we all grew up very uber religious. But my brother that had never really left home, it's a lot more difficult for him to break away. So imagine being white. Imagine being in a fucked up system and being conditioned to believe that that system works because it's been working for you more than it's been working for Black people and people of color. So it's easier for you to trust in and believe that system, which means it's harder for you to deconstruct and dismantle it. I talk to so many white people that are struggling financially. Let me tell y'all something, Black women. It is not what it looked like. It is not what it looked like. Okay? And I see how a lot of white people, particularly a lot of older white people, Gen X and older, how difficult it is for them to come to terms with the fact that this system is not built for them either, right? It's very difficult. Even I noticed this with a lot of older Black people, and particularly with older Black men. It's very difficult for them to admit and come to terms with the fact that this system doesn't work, that they've been giving, now this is back to, Caucasian people, they've been giving a deep, deep, deep programming to believe that these structures, these systems were built to work for them in their favor, and it's not. Take a police officer, right? A police officer and those who are really heavy, Blue Lives Matter, right? Take those people. Do y'all understand how deeply programmed those people are? And I really feel sorry for them because, for lack of a better term, those are the lower tier white people, right? They're doing the difficult work. Being a police officer is not easy. They don't pay them nearly enough money as they should. But they gave them a belief system. They told them that they were a notch above Black people just by having white skin and that they should control and police the community. And thus, they thoroughly believe in this false sense of authority. But you don't even make enough money to pay your bills. You know how many government employees are damn near floor closure? They can barely make ends meet just like everybody else. So what is this perceived authority doing for you? Nothing. Programming, right? These are the same people and people kind of sort of in that box that will directly vote against their own best interest because of race. Do you know how asinine it is to vote against your own best interest because of race? Like, they have really been taught and programmed to believe that they're superior to all other races. That's some deep programming shit for your ass, right? So when it comes time for them, when they start experiencing difficulties under the system that they were told was supposed to benefit them, they have a hard time understanding what's happening. Whereas in Black people, Black women, Black men, Hispanic, people of color, it don't take us hard to learn. It don't take us that much, it don't take us that long to learn. But in particular, I see how they react and I see how the sense of entitlement they have when it comes to them experiencing hardship and thinking things are just supposed to go their way. Baby, capitalism is not set up to benefit you. It's set up to give you the illusion that it's benefiting you by giving you a few more extra trinkets than it give everybody else, right? And so when we start to think this way, when we start to combine logic and emotion, combine critical thinking and open-heartedness, is that a word? Um, Coming from a heart space, right? When you start to combine those two things, oh, the level of growth will bring tears to your eyes. I'm able to have sympathy, empathy for these people, right? Now, that don't mean that I can't go outside and experience racism, right? And I will handle that accordingly. But I'll handle that like a boss, okay? I won't handle that like a victim. Even though I would be a victim if I experienced that, I'm not going to handle it like a victim. And that's not to say don't leave room for emotions but that is to say know where to place it and know where to put it, right? So many people believe that the things that they have to do in order to get where they need to be is so far away, and it's not. All it takes is growth. All it takes is a choice to choose to think differently, to change your mindset, to look at the world differently, right? Um, I talk to so many people on a daily basis that is, you know, predominantly Caucasian. And it's not what you think it is. So sometimes when they tell us that, you know, I understand why they will say, "Oh, I'm not privileged. I'm not privileged. I struggle and have to." I understand that, right? My understanding that is also not me dismissing racism or dismissing experiences that Black people have and experiences that even I've had, right? But it does help me navigate the world a whole lot differently. And when I'm able to navigate the world through higher consciousness and through a higher frequency, I get way better results. Um a lot of people open up to me And I'm Fort Knox when it comes to the secret. So, and a lot of people feel comfortable talking to me and telling me their stories because I come from a heart space, because I'm able to empathize, even with those who have oppressed us in this space and time, right? You don't have to do that if you want to. Also a dark energy. I'm also of a darker energy. I try to make sure I'm balanced, but I do lean more towards the darker goddess. I do lean more towards that. Um, but me embracing that part of myself has allowed me to even more so come from a heart space and come from a light space, right? I don't really particularly like the term light and dark, but I just use those terms because that's what most of us are able to kind of, understand things through that lens of light and dark and all those kinds of things. So, um that has enabled me to do that and to be more balanced in my perspective. I think when us as Black women in particular, when we get caught up, a part of the conditioning and a part of the programming that is in this simulation, the receptors that we get, it want us as Black women to be victims. It want us to continue to try to put in effort to assimilate. It want to energy vamp from us because we are the highest spiritual humans, right? They know who we are. We don't know who we are, but they know. They want you to be afraid to wear your natural hair. They want you to cover up your crown. They want to piss you off online so that they can go viral, so they can transmute your energy into profit and attention and numbers for them. Can y'all pick up what I'm putting down? Black women and Black people for that matter. But my platform is for women, and I hope men are somewhere doing their work because I damn sure know women are. They want you to vibrate at a lower frequency. They want to stifle your power. They want to diffuse your fire, right? Because as soon as Black women start understanding who we are, listen, that's why they don't want white women talking to us. That's why they get afraid when we congregate. We can be talking about what we're going to do this weekend and they acting like we Phineas and Ferb and we trying to take over the world because they know we got the power to if we really wanted to. But that's a whole nother conversation that I would rather have on a private platform coming soon. But they know who you are. So when we start to allow things like hair and things like birth rates and things like all of these things are intentional. Us being affected, infant mortality rate, birth giving, mortality rate, abuse, domestic violence, creating conditions so that we have the worst experience essentially than anyone. These things are intentional. So we have to figure out how to break out of it. We have to figure out how to deconstruct that programming. We have to figure out how to get to a better place and how to shift our mindset. They're not going to do it. Why would they? Stop expecting people to dismantle systems they intentionally built to keep you down. They're not going to do it. They don't have an incentive to do it. You got to do it. They're not going to assist you in helping you appreciate your hair, right? Some of us in the spiritual world, have y'all ever heard people say how locks, my hair is locked underneath here? Listen, I don't walk around with this hair all the time. I do it on YouTube because I know how this system works and I believe in playing the game when necessary. But you need to be in control when you play the game. You need to be making the choices, right? Um And there's even some programming in that, and I recognize that. in myself. So listen, okay? But essentially, what would they get out of dismantling their system? Why would they? Stop expecting them to. Stop playing their game and start making up your own rules, right? We cannot expect this is the same thing. Like people love getting online talking about dating and all these other kind of things, right? It's the same thing, right? You meet a man, you go out. It's your job to uphold the standard, right? You don't talk about your standards. You don't give anyone the map to your standards. You don't, oh, I want somebody, I only go on fancy dates. Like if you, I'm not going to Cheesecake Factory, da 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 da, right? You can be someone who don't go to Cheesecake Factory simply by declining the date to Cheesecake Factory. You don't have to tell everybody that you don't go to Cheesecake Factory, right? Don't let your left hand know what your right hand doing. Stop talking so much. Stop telling everybody everything. Stop being so honest. This dark God is talking, okay? People aren't going to dismantle their systems that they built. I don't know how many times I will say this in my lifetime, but people are not going to dismantle systems they intentionally created to benefit them. We're going to have to stop playing the game. And this can be a larger conversation about all of us, all genders, all races, all non-genders, all creeds, colors, backgrounds. We're all under a system that is not meant for humans to benefit, period. And so it's on us to choose to stop playing the game. They playing with us with inflation. They playing with us with pandemics. It's up to us. One day, people are going to get so tired. And that day is approaching quickly that we're going to stop everything. Because ultimately, you don't win by playing their game. They gave you rules that don't even work. They intentionally gave you the wrong rules to the game. They told you that your spirituality was the devil. Meanwhile, they stole it from you and changed it and put their name on it. They're not going to dismantle their system. Stop asking them to. You dismantle it. You want to know a way to start dismantling it? Show up with your hair how it is. Show up talking how you want to talk. Show up not code switching. Listen, and on a larger scale, us in this society, listen, I believe majority of our capitalistic problems would go away if we all didn't go to work. Okay, everybody. If the cops didn't go to work, if the soldiers didn't go to work, if the people at the bank and the grocery store didn't go to work, okay, but that's my theory. Because that's the one thing we ain't did. Just like the one thing women haven't done to get out from under patriarchy is stop having kids. Because nobody would exist if you didn't allow them. So it's well within your power to stop it. You just got to be bold enough to do it. And you got to get past the fear and get to courage, right? That's how things happen. Have the courage to show up the way you want to show up. Yeah. Have the courage to speak how you naturally speak, to be how you naturally are. I saw a video or them talking about a video about a therapist that was on TikTok who said that she lets her she's a black therapist, so she lets her client show up eating a 10-piece lemon pepper wing and with their bonnet on. And black people got so mad. Programming. Programming. Again, I don't expect everybody to get it. I don't expect everybody to understand. But I do, if you want to expand your awareness and expand your growth, you will listen and you will take the parts that resonate and you can leave the rest, boo. I'm not y'all's owner. I ain't your mama. So I'm not trying to, I'm just giving you food for thought. Programming. A lot of the things that we do are off of automation. Most people in this world, in this society, they don't want to dismantle the system. I think a lot more of us are getting to the place where we want to dismantle the system. But they don't want to dismantle the system as much as they just want to have more power and more access to it, right? The same way Black men don't actually want to dismantle patriarchy, they just want what they think white men have. That, yeah, we all do it, right? We all play the game. We all do things, and to a certain degree, yeah, you're going to have to play the game, right? But there's a way that you start dismantling the game and playing by your own rules. And it starts with doing whatever you want to do and showing up your authentic self. And that starts inward, self-love. So within, as within, so without. So show up how you want to show up. Show up how you deserve to show up. Show up how it make you comfortable. We don't give a fuck about what people think. I don't expect somebody not in my culture to understand my culture. That's not their job. It's my job to understand my culture. It's my job to understand who I am. That is nobody else's job. And as soon as we stop expecting certain things from people, we can dismantle a lot of the victim mindset. Now, again, that doesn't mean you aren't actually a victim. That just means you don't allow your victim experience to define you and who you are. With that being said, we'll probably talk about this a bit more, but right now I'm about to pull from my cards. So we're going to wrap this up with, sometimes I might pull out cards, sometimes I didn't have time to think, put in effort into thinking about dismantling. What am I talking about? I didn't have time to think about a yoga pose that could go with this topic. So, but I was like, oh, we can do this. So this is what we're gonna do. Let's see. It's such a beautiful deck. And this is, I'm sure a lot of y'all have seen this, but this is the African Goddess deck, Oracle deck by Abiola Abrams. And this is what it looks like. They're so pretty. It's purple like my shirt. So I'm gonna just shuffle these up real quick and then pull one, and then I'm gonna read what it says in the booklet so we can get some goddess experience, some goddess energy up in here. Okay. So I'm gonna just pull one. I'm gonna make it quick. Which one I feel? I don't know. This top one is. Ooh, I'm feeling this one. Okay. Let's see what we have here. And I love learning about African. Oh, okay. Yimaya. Yes. Well, most people know who she is, but let's see what inspiration we can pull from this. Oh, I love these illustrations. Okay, let me find her. Number 40. This is a wonderful book for people who want to learn about oracles and also about African. Well, I know she Yoruba, Nigeria. So Yemaya is the goddess of awakening. Yoruba, Nigeria. Temple is the high priestess. Her element is water. Goddess Yemaya controls the ocean, the amniotic, I think I said that. Yes, amniotic fluid that nurtures us before we know ourselves. Isn't amniotic fluid? Isn't that's what is in the like earth sac? I could be wrong, but I've heard that word before. That nurtures us before we know ourselves. The healing, loving energy of this Yoruba mother Orisha deity never leaves you. Yemiya's guidance. Wake up. Awaken now to your true self. Listen, what did I tell y'all? What did I tell y'all? Okay, I had to put on my glasses because y'all know I got astigmatism bad. Awaken now to your true self. Are those tears of joy or sorrow? Let them out. Yemaya swallows your tears. You are vibrating at a higher frequency. So you see everything differently. See, y'all see what I be talking about? Right on time. Exactly what I was talking about. Okay. You are vibrating at a higher frequency, so you see everything differently. This is Goddess Rising. You are waking up. And once you have experienced awakening, you can never go back to not knowing. This is my favorite sentence. And I said this in my last video. When you learn, you cannot unlearn. Okay. The path of awakening is not straight, comfortable, or easy. You have chosen to lift the veil and have a real relationship with the divine. You didn't come to transcend this world while you're living in it. You came here to dig into the soil, plant yourself, and grow. This ascension is your divine purpose. I am receiving and radiating love. How appropriate is that? I'm looking down at the camera so I can make sure it's in the frame. But how appropriate is this for exactly what I'm talking about, right? For exactly what I'm talking about. Goddess rising. We don't come to this earth. When you choose to be aware, when you choose to grow and learn, that's your path. We don't come to this earth to fix this earth. It's the belief that this earth we reincarnate here for karma purposes. We can do our soul's work, and so eventually we elevate, right? So we're not here to necessarily fix the world. The world is specifically designed intentionally, right? Um, we can't fix anyone. We can't fix the world on our own, or we would. We can't fix the world. We can't fix other people, but we can fix ourselves. And this is the whole point, right? No matter what you go through and no matter what you deal with, you have the power to transmute your experiences and transform yourself through those experiences, to learn from them and to grow. Gain this goddess energy. Use it to build yourself up when the world told you that you was at the bottom of the totem pole. I feel like I'm preaching. If you are choosing it to be awakened, it's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to have to come to terms with a lot of things. When you get that goddess energy, when you start allowing goddess to intervene, shine her wisdom and her light, cry. Is that not what I said earlier? If you have a bad experience, you have a right to deal with that in the way you see fit. In your secret closet, in your home, in public, who cares? But you come here to transform. And this was such an appropriate pick. And this is why I say definitely get you an Oracle deck. Just because it'll inspire you in ways that you don't even know. The path to awakening is not straight, it's not comfortable or easy. You've chosen to lift the veil. That's why I say my content is not for everyone. It's only for those who want it. This is why I don't argue with people. You don't have to agree with me. My ego, I have an ego just like everybody else, but my ego ain't that big. I don't think that everybody should think like me. I don't think that everybody should fall over every word that I say. But those who find value in it help me do what I do and help me put myself out here like that, like this, and speak on things that is sometimes scary because you may feel like you're being judged. Get you a deck, okay? And have a good night. Yo, listen, get it. Thank y'all so much for if you made it to the end of this video. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And if you find value in the things that I say, I greatly appreciate you. Follow me on Instagram, on YouTube, TikTok, and this will also be uploaded onto Spotify and other podcasts. I have to make sure my podcast is actually being distributed because it's new, but it'll definitely be up on YouTube and wherever you are in the world. I hope you have a good evening, a good morning, a good night, and thank you so much for watching.